Your Honor, I need to report something. Sarah Mitchell's hands moved in rapid sign language, her face tight with urgency. But the woman translating her words, Maria Castellanos, the court interpreter, wasn't looking at the judge. She was looking at the two officers approaching from the side door. Judge Frank Caprio glanced up from the file. The courtroom was unusually tense for a Tuesday morning hearing about unpaid fines. Miss Castellanos, Caprio said slowly. Is there a problem? Maria's hands trembled slightly as she signed back to Sarah. The 9-year-old deaf girl's eyes widened. She signed something urgent. Maria hesitated, then spoke. Your Honor, there's a warrant for my arrest. The courtroom went silent. Not the dramatic kind, the confused kind. Officer Brennan stepped forward, badge visible, warrant in hand. Maria Elena Castellanos, he said. Yes, we have a bench warrant for failure to appear. Case 2-026-CV8843. You need to come with us. Sarah's hands flew. Maria translated, her voice shaking. Your Honor, Sarah is asking what's happening. She doesn't understand why I'm being arrested. Caprio held up one hand. Officers, hold on. Miss Castellanos, what is this warrant for? Maria swallowed hard. I missed a court date for a traffic violation. I got the notice, but I was interpreting at a custody hearing that day. I thought I could reschedule, but you didn't follow through. I forgot, Your Honor. I'm sorry. I've been working 6 days a week, and I forgot. Officer Brennan cleared his throat. Your Honor, we have orders to take her into custody. Caprio looked at Sarah. The girl was signing frantically, tears forming. Maria translated through her own distress. She's saying, please don't take me. She needs me. She's been waiting 3 months for this hearing. What hearing? Caprio asked. Sarah's hands moved again. Maria spoke. Parking tickets. 6 of them. She's been trying to fight them because they were issued in error. She's deaf. The officer didn't understand when she tried to explain. She's already paid 2, but she can't afford the rest. She needs me to translate. Caprio set his pen down. He looked at Maria, then at Sarah, then at the officers. Officers, give me 5 minutes. Brennan frowned. Your Honor, the warrant... 5 minutes, officer. That's not a request. The officers stepped back. Caprio turned to his clerk, Miss Reyes. Pull the case file. 2026-CV8843. Castellanos. She nodded and began typing. Caprio looked at Maria. Miss Castellanos, you're a court interpreter. You understand how the system works. I do, Your Honor. And you missed a court date. I did. Why didn't you call the court? Explain the conflict? Maria's voice cracked. I panicked. I kept meaning to, but every day I had another case, another family that needed me. I'm one of 3 certified ASL interpreters in this county. If I don't show up, people like Sarah don't get their day in court. Caprio's expression didn't change. That's not an excuse. I know. It's a reason, but not an excuse. Maria nodded, tears now visible. Sarah was signing desperately. Maria translated. She's asking if I'm going to jail. She wants to know what happens to her case. Miss Reyes looked up. Your Honor, the original case is a $180 traffic fine. She missed the court date. The warrant was issued 3 weeks ago. Caprio looked at Maria. Why didn't you turn yourself in? I tried. I went to the courthouse last week, but they said I needed to wait for processing. I had 4 interpreting jobs that day. I couldn't afford to lose the work. You couldn't afford to lose the work, but you could afford a warrant? Maria said nothing. Caprio turned to Sarah. Miss Mitchell, do you have anyone else who can interpret for you today? Number 4. Number 4. Sarah signed. Maria translated quietly. No, Your Honor. Maria is the only one I trust. She's been helping me for 2 years, since my mother died. The detail landed heavy. Caprio's face softened for a moment. Then, reset. Officers, I'm remanding Miss Castellanos into my custody for the duration of this hearing. She will interpret for Miss Mitchell. After that, she will be processed on the warrant. Is that acceptable? Officer Brennan hesitated. Your Honor, that's unusual. It's also necessary. Miss Mitchell has a constitutional right to an interpreter. Miss Castellanos has a duty to fulfill. She'll fulfill it, and then she'll face her own consequences. Agreed? Brennan looked at his partner, Officer Hayes, who shrugged. Agreed, Your Honor. Caprio nodded. Miss Castellanos, you will stand next to Miss Mitchell and interpret. You will not leave this courtroom. When we're done, you'll go with the officers. Understood? Understood. We're standing Castellanos. We're gonna stand in Castellanos. Understood. Understood and Castellanos. You will stand in Castellanos. Understood. Yes, Your Honor. Caprio opened Sarah's file. Case 2027TR10482. State versus Sarah Mae Mitchell. 6 parking violations. Total fines $840. Miss Mitchell, why are you contesting these tickets? Sarah's hands moved deliberately. Maria translated. Steadier now. Your Honor, I was parked in a loading zone outside my apartment building. I have a placard that allows me to park there because I'm deaf. The placard was displayed. The officer ticketed me anyway. 6 times. Same spot. Same reason. I tried to explain, but he didn't understand. Caprio turned to Miss Reyes. Do we have the officer's report? Yes, Your Honor. Officer Daniel Greer. He noted the vehicle was in a loading zone during restricted hours. He did not mention a placard. Was there a placard? Sarah signed. Maria translated. Yes, Your Honor. It's a special accommodation placard. It allows me to park in loading zones because I can't hear cars backing up in parking garages. It's safer for me to park on the street. Caprio leaned forward. And this placard was visible? Yes, Your Honor. It was hanging from my rearview mirror. It's always there. Miss Reyes, pull the photos from the citations. Miss Reyes clicked through the system. Her face changed. Your Honor, there are no photos attached to any of the 6 citations. Caprio's eyes narrowed. Officer Greer didn't photograph the violations? No, Your Honor. Standard protocol is to photograph parking violations, especially contested ones. Yes, Your Honor. Caprio looked at Sarah. Miss Mitchell, do you have proof of this placard? Sarah signed. Maria translated. I have the placard with me, and the registration document showing it was issued to me 2 years ago. Show me. Sarah reached into her bag and pulled out a blue and white placard. She handed it to Miss Reyes, who brought it to the bench. Caprio examined it, then checked the dates. This was issued in 2025. Still valid. Yes, Your Honor. Caprio set the placard down. Miss Reyes, has Officer Greer been notified of this hearing? He was. He's not present. Why not? He requested to submit a written statement. He's on patrol. Caprio's jaw tightened. A written statement for a case where the defendant is contesting 6 citations and claims disability discrimination. The courtroom felt the shift. Even the officers near the door straightened. Read the statement. Miss Reyes cleared her throat. Officer Greer states, on 6 separate occasions between January and March 2027, I observed the defendant's vehicle parked illegally in a loading zone on Benefit Street. The vehicle was parked during restricted hours, 7 to 9 a.m. The defendant was not loading or unloading. Citations were issued in accordance with City Ordinance 14-247. The defendant became confrontational when approached. Sarah's hands moved sharply. Maria translated, voice rising. I wasn't confrontational. I tried to explain I'm deaf. He didn't listen. He walked away before I could show him the placard. Caprio looked at the statement again. Officer Greer says you became confrontational. What does that mean? Sarah signed, her movements precise and angry. Maria translated. I waved at him to get his attention. He thought I was being rude. I was trying to communicate. When you can't hear, you use your hands. You use your face. He didn't understand that. He told me to calm down and walked away. Caprio was silent for a moment. Then he turned to Miss Reyes. Get Officer Greer on the phone, now. Yes, Your Honor. While Miss Reyes dialed, Caprio looked at Maria. The interpreter was pale, standing rigidly next to Sarah. The two officers near the door shifted their weight. The warrant was still active. The clock was ticking. Miss Reyes spoke quietly into the phone, then put it on speaker. Officer Greer, you're on speaker in the courtroom of Judge Frank Caprio. Do you understand? Yes, ma'am. Caprio leaned toward the phone. Officer Greer, this is Judge Caprio. You issued 6 parking citations to Miss Sarah Mitchell between January and March of this year, correct? Yes, Your Honor. Did you photograph any of these violations? A pause. I don't recall, Your Honor. You don't recall. You issued 6 separate tickets to the same vehicle, in the same location, over 3 months, and you don't recall if you took photos? I issue a lot of tickets, Your Honor. I'm sure you do. Did Miss Mitchell try to communicate with you? Another pause. She was upset. Yelling. Sarah's hands flew. Maria translated, voice tight. I wasn't yelling. I can't hear my own voice. I was trying to explain. Caprio spoke into the phone. Officer Greer, did Miss Mitchell show you a disability placard? She tried to show me something. I told her she could contest it in court. Did you look at what she was showing you? Silence. Officer Greer, I need you to answer. I glanced at it. And? I thought it was just a regular parking permit. Those don't apply to loading zones. Did you read it? Not fully, Your Honor. I was on a tight schedule. Caprio's voice stayed level, but the air in the courtroom changed. A tight schedule. So you issued 6 citations to a deaf woman without verifying whether she had legal permission to park there. She was parked in a loading zone during restricted hours, with a disability placard that specifically allows her to do so. Greer said nothing. Officer, why did you describe Miss Mitchell as confrontational in your report? She was waving her arms. Being aggressive. She is. Like? Sarah signed, tears streaming now. Maria's voice broke as she translated. I was trying to talk to you. That's how I communicate. I'm deaf. I can't just speak. I have to sign. You didn't even try to understand. Caprio spoke carefully. Officer Greer, did you know Miss Mitchell was deaf? She didn't say anything because she can't hear. A long pause. Then, quieter. I didn't realize. The courtroom was silent. Even the officers by the door looked uncomfortable. Caprio removed his glasses and rubbed his eyes. Officer Greer, you will report to my chambers tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. We will discuss this in detail. Understood? Yes, Your Honor. You're dismissed. The line went dead. Caprio looked at Sarah, then at the placard on his desk. Miss Mitchell, these citations are dismissed. All 6. You owe nothing. Sarah's face crumpled. She signed something. Maria translated, voice shaking. Thank you, Your Honor. Thank you. You're welcome, and I'm sorry this happened. Sarah nodded, wiping her eyes. Caprio turned to Miss Reyes. Make a note. Officer Greer is required to complete disability awareness training. Mandatory. No exceptions. And every parking enforcement officer in this city will complete the same training within 60 days. Yes, Your Honor. Caprio looked at Sarah again. Miss Mitchell, you did nothing wrong. The city failed you. Officer Greer failed you. That won't happen again. Sarah signed. Maria translated. Thank you for listening. That's my job. Then Caprio turned to Maria. The interpreter stiffened. The officers moved forward slightly. Miss Castellanos. Yes, Your Honor. You missed your court date. I did. You put your work ahead of your own legal obligations. I did. Caprio picked up the file Miss Reyes had pulled. He read silently for a moment. The courtroom held its breath. Sarah was watching, confused. She signed. Maria translated automatically. What's happening? Why is he looking at Maria's file? Caprio glanced up. Miss Mitchell, Miss Castellanos has her own case. She missed a court date. There's a warrant for her arrest. Sarah's eyes went wide. She signed urgently. Maria didn't translate. Caprio waited. Miss Castellanos. What is she saying? Maria's voice was barely a whisper. She's asking if I'm going to jail. She's asking if it's her fault. Is it her fault? No, Your Honor. This is my responsibility. Sarah signed again, more frantically. Maria translated, tears falling. She's saying, please don't take me. She's saying I'm the only person who understands her. She's asking if she can pay my fine. Caprio looked at Sarah. The girl was 19, crying, scared. She'd just had her own case dismissed, but she was more worried about her interpreter. Miss Mitchell, Caprio said gently, this isn't your responsibility. Miss Castellanos broke the law. She has to answer for that. Sarah signed. Maria translated. But she was helping people. She was helping me. I know, but that doesn't erase her obligation. Sarah signed something else. Maria hesitated. Caprio noticed. What did she say? Maria's voice cracked. She said I'm the only family she has left. The courtroom went still. Caprio looked at Maria. Is that true? Maria nodded. I've been interpreting for Sarah since her mother passed. 2 years. I'm not family, but she doesn't have anyone else. What about her father? Sarah signed. Maria translated. He left when I was born. He didn't want a deaf child. The weight of it settled. Officer Brennan shifted uncomfortably. Even Hayes looked down. Caprio was quiet for a long moment. Then he turned to Miss Reyes. What was the original fine? $180, Your Honor, plus court fees. Total $340. And the warrant? Failure to appear. Standard bench warrant. Caprio looked at Maria. Miss Castellanos, why didn't you pay the fine? I couldn't afford it. I had to pay rent, and I was embarrassed. I kept putting it off. You make a living as an interpreter. I do. But it's contract work. Inconsistent. Some weeks I make good money. Some weeks I make nothing. That month was bad. Caprio nodded slowly. Then he did something unexpected. He turned to the officers. Officer Brennan, Officer Hayes. Miss Castellanos is in violation of a bench warrant. What's standard procedure? Brennan answered. She's taken into custody, booked, and held until bail is posted or a hearing is scheduled. For more question, reef orders, and where question. Reef orders under one of that was approvix by en health. Where question, where question, where question, where question. Reef orders under one of, where question by en health. How long does that usually take? Could be a few hours. Could be overnight. Caprio looked at Maria. Do you have someone who can post bail? No, Your Honor. So you'd spend the night in jail? Yes, Your Honor. Sarah was signing desperately. Maria translated through tears. Please, don't let them take her. Please. Caprio leaned back in his chair. He was thinking. The courtroom waited. Finally, he spoke. Miss Castellanos, I'm going to give you a choice. Your Honor, you can go with these officers right now. Be processed. Spend the night in jail. Post bail tomorrow morning. Or you can agree to the terms I'm about to set and walk out of this courtroom today. Maria's eyes widened. What terms? Wide. You will pay the $340 fine in full within 30 days. You will complete 40 hours of community service at the Rhode Island School for the Deaf. You will assist with their interpreter training program. And you will personally apologize to this court for wasting its time. Maria's voice shook. That's it? No. One more thing. You will never, ever miss another court date. If you do, there will be no second chance. You'll serve the maximum penalty. Understood? If you do, yes, Your Honor. Yes. Thank you. Caprio held up a hand. I'm not finished. You're a certified interpreter. You're one of 3 in this county. That means people like Miss Mitchell depend on you. You can't be dependable if you're sitting in jail because you forgot to pay a ticket. I understand. Do you? Because this isn't charity, Miss Castellanos. This is pragmatism. Miss Mitchell needs you. Other people need you. The system needs you. But if you can't manage your own life, you can't help anyone else. Maria nodded, tears streaming. I understand, Your Honor. I won't let you down. Don't let yourself down. Caprio turned to the officers. Warrant is stayed pending completion of terms. Miss Castellanos is released on her own recognizance. Officer Brennan looked skeptical. Your Honor, that's unusual. I know. Note it in the file. Brennan nodded slowly. Yes, Your Honor. Sarah was signing frantically. Maria translated, voice full of relief and disbelief. She's asking if this is real. She's asking if I'm really not going to jail. Caprio looked at Sarah. It's real, Miss Mitchell, but Miss Castellanos has to follow through. If she doesn't, she will face consequences. Do you understand? Sarah signed. Maria translated. I understand. Thank you. Thank you so much. Caprio's expression softened slightly. Miss Mitchell, you came here today expecting to fight 6 unfair tickets. Instead, you watched your interpreter nearly get arrested. That's not how justice should work. Sarah signed. Maria translated. You helped both of us. I did my job. Both of you were failed by the system. Officer Greer failed you. The court system failed Miss Castellanos by not making accommodations for her work schedule. I'm trying to fix both. He turned to Miss Reyes. Make sure Officer Greer understands that disability awareness training is mandatory. And I want a report on how many other cases like Miss Mitchell's might have been dismissed incorrectly. Yes, Your Honor. Caprio looked back at Maria. Miss Castellanos, 40 hours at the school for the deaf. Start within 2 weeks. Bring me proof of enrollment. I will, Your Honor. And the fine, $340. You have 30 days. I'll pay it. See that you do. He turned to Sarah. Miss Mitchell, if you ever have trouble with parking enforcement again, you call this court directly. Don't wait 3 months. Understood? Sarah signed. Maria translated. I will. Thank you. Caprio closed both files. This court is adjourned. The gavel came down. Maria stood frozen for a moment, like she couldn't believe it was over. Sarah threw her arms around her, sobbing. The interpreter hugged her back, shaking. Officer Brennan approached. Miss Castellanos, you got lucky today. Maria pulled back from Sarah and nodded. I know. Thank you. Don't thank me. Thank him. Brennan gestured toward Caprio, who was already reviewing the next file. Most judges wouldn't have done that. I know. Hayes handed her a paper. Your terms. Signed by the judge. Keep it with you. If you miss anything, we'll be back. I won't miss anything. The officers left. Sarah and Maria stood together in the now empty courtroom. Sarah signed something. Maria smiled through tears. She's asking if I'm okay. Miss Reyes, still at her desk, looked up. Are you okay? Maria wiped her eyes. I think so. I can't believe he did that. Judge Caprio sees people, not just cases. You're proof of that. Sarah signed again. Maria translated. She wants to know if we can go get coffee. To celebrate. Miss Reyes smiled. You should. But Miss Castellanos, remember what the judge said. You have 30 days for that fine. Don't wait. I won't. I promise. Sarah and Maria walked toward the courtroom doors. Before they left, Sarah turned back. She signed something, then left. Miss Reyes looked confused. What did she say? Maria's voice was soft. She said, "Tell the judge thank you for seeing me. Not just hearing me, seeing me." Miss Reyes nodded. He did. He saw both of you. 3 weeks later, Maria walked into the Rhode Island School for the Deaf for her first community service shift. The coordinator, a woman named Mrs. Palmer, greeted her at the door. "You're Maria Castellanos? The court interpreter?" "I am. Judge Caprio called personally. Said you'd be helping with our training program." "He did?" "He did. He also said you're one of the best interpreters in the state. Said we're lucky to have you." Maria felt her throat tighten. "He said that?" "He did. Come on, I'll show you around." Maria spent 40 hours at the school. She taught basic ASL to hearing families. She trained new interpreters. She sat with deaf students and listened to their stories about being misunderstood, ignored, dismissed. She thought about Officer Greer, about how easy it was to not see someone when you weren't looking. By her final shift, Maria had decided something. She submitted an application to the city's Disability Services Office, a proposal to create a 24/7 interpreter hotline for emergency situations. She included testimonials from families she'd worked with, data on missed court dates due to interpreter shortages, a budget breakdown. 4 months later, the program was approved. Sarah Mitchell graduated from community college with honors. At the ceremony, Maria interpreted her valedictorian speech. Sarah's hands moved gracefully, deliberately. Maria's voice carried across the auditorium. People think being deaf means living in silence, but silence isn't empty. It's full of things hearing people never notice. The way light changes in a room, the way someone's face tells you everything before their mouth moves, the way kindness doesn't need sound to be heard. Sarah paused, then continued signing. Maria translated. "Someone once told me that justice is about seeing people, not just hearing them. Judge Frank Caprio saw me when I needed it most, and because he did, I learned to see myself." The audience applauded. Maria stood off to the side, tears streaming. After the ceremony, Sarah found her. She signed something. Maria laughed. "She says I cry too much." Sarah grinned, then signed again. Maria's expression softened. "She says thank you for everything, and she's starting graduate school in the fall. She wants me to interpret her thesis defense." "I'll be there," Maria said out loud, signing as she spoke. "I promise." Judge Frank Caprio never saw Sarah's graduation, never knew about the interpreter hotline Maria created, never knew that his decision that Tuesday morning rippled outward in ways he couldn't measure. But he knew this: the system works best when it sees people first and problems second. When it asks not just what did they do, but why did they do it, and what do they need. He closed Maria's file 6 months after that hearing. All terms completed. Fine paid. Community service logged. No further violations. In the margin, he wrote, "Compassion doesn't erase accountability. It makes accountability possible." He set the file aside and opened the next one. The system turned. Indifferent to names. Responsive to truth. But sometimes, if you listen carefully, you can hear the silence speak. Subscribe to All Rise for more stories of justice, compassion, and second chances. Have you ever witnessed a moment where someone chose to see beyond the surface? Share your story in the comments below. And remember, the most powerful thing you can give someone isn't a second chance. It's the belief that they deserve one. Dramatization for storytelling and educational purposes, not legal advice or court reporting.